Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m. We're here studying Harvest of Light, the book that was written by Emmanuel through the phenomenal humanitarian, disciplined hands of Chico Xavier. And today we're studying chapter 57. Yes, but it's day 58 because we have studied the preface. In this book, published in 1979, Emmanuel brings to us tools, practical tools, practical insights to transform our lives. For those in the previous days who were doing the math of their time, remember when we were studying in the inner refinement, there are 56 weeks in a year. So if you multiply the number of hours you dedicate to others without any reward, so it's not about work. If you receive money, it doesn't count. It's about no reward whatsoever. Multiply by 56 and divided by 8,760 hours a year, then you're going to find out the percentage you dedicate your life to the general good. Of course, this is just a rough measurement. It's not absolute. It's just to give us an idea, because sometimes we have a feeling that we're doing so much and there's so much more we need to do. And that's precisely the message of chapter 57 tonight. Welcome, friends. I guess you're ready. We are here tonight to study chapter 57. Ready? Shall we read it? Yes. Donation in us. Sorry. Emmanuel quotes Jesus as written in Luke chapter 6, verse 38. Give, and it shall be given to you. Emmanuel then writes 8 paragraphs to disclose to us what it means. He says, God has given you science so that you may, for the sake of your brothers and sisters, extend it with such devotion that ignorance will never darken the ways of humanity. God has given you discernment so that your verbal offer will help the understanding of those who hear you, so that your presence, wherever it may be, will constitute light that dissipates the shadow of the imbalance and the fog of discord. God has given you authority so that you may exercise justice with mercy, so that compassion does not disappear from the world under the gusts of violence. God has given you fortune so that your money may become the piler of work and beneficence with such abnegation that penury will never annihilate all our still happy companions in the tracks of trial and despair. God constantly gives you something, but you will only keep and multiply the talents you receive through the donations you make. We're all only usufructuaries of the goods of life, which in essence belong only to the Lord of the universe, who keeps them in our hands according to the benefit and the productivity that we imprint into it. Give, and it shall be given to you, Jesus said. That in essence means God gives to you so you may pass it on. Simple, apparently, right? Right? So, welcome everybody. I can see loving hearts here. And this is, you see how it comes to the last part of the book. And in a beautiful course with Emmanuel in Harvest of Light, he funnels to us guidelines. He's very pragmatic. He says to us, God gives you something, but it's not for you. It's through you. It's not for you. It's through you. It's not for me. It's through me. And he explains it in such a way that we may think, why? If you read chapter 6 of the Gospel of Luke, you are going to observe that Jesus mentioned this sentence right after the Beatitudes as guidelines for humanity. Give, and it shall be given to you. So what does that mean? Does that mean that if I don't receive, I'm not giving? Yeah, very likely. So if I want to receive, I need to give. But that's not selfish, it's compliance. Some people say, I remember, and forgive me for saying this, but I remember when I was 17, 18 years old, and I was in college. I was the president of the class. And back then I used to teach Spiritism to kids and teens in an organization during the weekends. So one day, one of the college friends of mine asked me, do you think you do this out of vanity or ego or selfishness? And I asked, why you're asking this? And she said, because you feel good about it. So if you feel good, it defeats the purpose. I said, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, think about this. God is so good, that when you do the good, you feel good. Only God could make such a beautiful life like this. Of course, God wants you to do the good and He gives you an inner reward. You feel good about it. That's not selfishness. That's the law of life. Yes, that's the law of life. You feel good. It's a sign that God wants you to keep doing it. Because to do good, it's good to be good. It's good to be good. So it's the inner reward. But many people say, oh, I'm not going to do it because it feels so selfish. No, it's self-love. You want to be in harmony. You want to be in peace. And you don't mind if people don't understand. You do it because it makes sense. You do it because it feels good to you. It's not about a person or a group or a community or a nation or the planet. It's about God. When we do the good, we find God within it. And if you see, even the word, look at this. I know it seems silly, huh? But look at this. It's so good that you find God in it. There is God in the good. There is God in the good. So when we do the good, we find God. And that's why we feel good. So I keep doing it. And Emmanuel is going to give us key points. Huh? And you think, why does he do it? I cannot dare to say why, but we can extrapolate together. He talks about science, discernment, authority, money. So he gives you knowledge. And what do you do with it? What do you know that people may not know and you could share? Today was so beautiful when I've got to know that a college student in Brazil started teaching English to children in an at-risk school in a movement of voluntary work. So beautiful. She's still young, but already giving of herself. How beautiful. Hmm? Gabriel Inácio is saying, hello, Gabriel. I have a huge difficulty to start doing something. I mean, I look for an activity and place in order to support and donate some free time. Something makes me hesitate, and I'm always waiting for an opportunity to pop up by chance. What can I do? My dear friend, that's a beautiful question. We wish it were only you, because that would be easy. But majority of people feel this way. But you know why? Because we are not trained since childhood to think like this. Mm-mm. We are raised not exactly focusing on the needs of others. And then when we become adults to create the habit, it's very difficult. Even to know. So, for example, in the first International Spiritist Youth Weekend, which happened this year in July, we had a workshop on service, and beautiful teens were there, created a booklet teaching people how to serve. And why did they create it? Because they said it's not second nature yet. On earth, it's not second nature, but it must become. That's why Jesus said 2000 years ago, come on, give so you can receive. So what do we do? You know, Gabriel, first of all, begin in your mind. As Emmanuel says in all the scientific study shows nowadays, begin in your mind, visualize yourself waking up, dressing up, saying a prayer, picking up your car, driving to an organization, and doing something that you want to do. Visualize whatever it is. And then Visualize people being benefited by your help and you feeling fulfilled, coming back home and feeling grateful for the opportunity of being useful. If you start visualizing it and praying for it, your guardian angel is going to give you the next push and show people in your way to do it. Okay? But wherever you are, if you find a spiritist center, usually spiritist centers have outreach programs through which you can help as well. Okay? I hope this helps. Right, Gabriel? I hope this helps. But knowledge is something we need to share to vanish with ignorance on the earth. That's what Emmanuel is saying. Some people, I'll tell you the truth, they are good cooks. And it's fascinating that they have their little kitchen and they share the good recipes that you do. You know, I learned how to make cheese bread in the United States thanks to YouTube videos of women and men who had, they apparently anonymous, but they shared their knowledge. And I learned it. And you know, now through making cheese bread, I can fundraise for the Spiritist Center in Virginia. That's one of the ways we can fundraise. Seems silly, but it's not silly. Because they know how to cook. I don't. So I watch it, I learn it, and I use it. And it helps. There are people who know how to clean well, like to take the stains of clothes off. For me, I didn't know much until Virginia was born. And as a child, they start using crayons and markers, etc. And then the clothes, different colors. So then YouTube, how to take the stains off the, and so many people are YouTubing. Wonderful. Some people think it's vanity. No, it's service. It's service. What's the purpose of having this book for myself alone if I cannot share it with you? There are many people who do not speak Portuguese. And this book is phenomenal. We can no longer wait for this book to come to life. Believe it or not, this book was written precisely 46 years ago, which is my age, 46 ago. 46 years ago. And it's a treasure. So we click on Facebook Live, share it, and then everybody has an opportunity to know, especially if they do not have access to the Portuguese language. We can no longer wait, can we? No. Right, Gabriel? Everything begins, as André Luiz says in the book No Solar through Chico Xavier. He says everything begins in the dream. And I think when he says it, he means what we say nowadays in science. We visualize it. We create that image and then we put our intensity on it, the frequency on it. And as Kardec says in the book Genesis, and um, Flammarion says in one of his books, Gabriel Delany, um, it condenses the perispirit, saturates the molecules of the perispirit, and thus materializes. So it begins in an image. He says, if you have any knowledge, share. Now you have a phone, a tablet, a laptop, a desktop. Now you have the power of social media, like a journalist. You can share knowledge with the world and help vanish darkness. I know people who are afraid of sharing good news because they are afraid of what others think of it. Now let me ask you this question. What if what you are afraid of sharing, because it's your belief, is precisely what somebody in your network needs to change their lives? Did you know that Haroldo Dutra Dias, one of the scholars of Spiritism nowadays, became acquainted with Spiritism when he was 14, 15 years of age, and a neighbor who was older than him gave him a book, No Solar. Thanks to that day, Haroldo got to know of Spiritism and kept on his search for more. Everything begins on the first step. What if it is on you to share a knowledge that will change somebody's life? So, our homework today has several components. Component number one: what are the things that you know that you need to share and you're not sharing? Knowledge. What kind of knowledge do you have that you're not sharing and you should be sharing? That's part A of our homework in the next 24 hours, okay? Then part B, he says, God gave you discernment so that your words will offer understanding and illuminate dissipating imbalance and discord. So what are we doing with that discernment that can boost understanding and create peace? Are we using it, or are we keeping ourselves quiet? We can't. We need to speak up and illuminate wherever we are. 3, God gave you authority, and you need to exercise justice with mercy so that compassion does not disappear from the world under violence. Isn't that what we're seeing in the world? Much authority without mercy, justice without mercy. And it begins with ourselves. When we visualize that we did go wrong and we are not merciful and compassionate towards us, so we cannot be compassionate towards others. Right? Gabriel Inácio is mentioning, I was like these people since I heard from you in a recorded audio in Kardec Radio talking about it. From there on, I always share spiritual subject in my Facebook. Beautiful, beautiful, Gabriel. I think that's the way to go. There is a time in which God says, come on, I need all of you. Okay? Let's ask this question. Today somebody told me, yeah, but you know, Vanessa, I'm not Divaldo Franco. Because Divaldo, he's 91. But you know, for Divaldo, it's much easier. He has lots of good spirits around him. Let's interview God. God, do you love Divaldo more than you love us? No. Do you send him extra guardianship because he deserves more than others? No. He attracts them because he wants to do the good always. And I'm just joking here that we're talking about the way God says, but certainly according to Spiritism, God loves us equally. And in the book Jesus in the Home, there's a beautiful passage that Jesus told the disciples. He said, one day in a neighboring city, there were many people who were in need of medication, counseling, help. So an angel flew to a temple, to a Hebrew temple, and asked the people at the temple, especially the highest priest, Can you come and help? And he said, no, I can't. I have my community. I have my deeds. I have my study hours. I can't. And the angel kept asking all the other ones and so on and so forth. Until one day he heard the prayer of a criminal who was reformed and wanted to change his heart and do better, comply with God's laws. So the angel came to him and said, hello, this is a former criminal, huh? Do you want to help me bringing medication to the next door city and help people out? He said, please count on me. And he did. Next day he was there. He spent days working on it. And Jesus said that the company of the angels were right there with him. At the end of the book, Jesus in the home, Jesus said, you may have the knowledge of the world and even a righteous attitude. But if you do not help others, today, not yesterday, today, the angels may use the company of a criminal to help others. So it doesn't count if you've done 10,000 good things, but you stop. And there are people who become older and say, I am too old. But God is giving you the minutes that you have. You need to use them till the last minute of this life and continue in the afterlife. I cannot stop. There are different ways of reaching out to people, but there are still ways of reaching out to people. Divaldo Franco has spiritual help because he never stops helping people. And so shall we. Chico Xavier did the same. He was sick. He was tired. He was constantly reaching out to people until the last day at 92. So why do you think we are exempted from it? Chris Anastasia is saying, I want to share Spiritist talks, posts on Facebook, but I'm afraid because I have lots of friends that either don't believe in anything or are super religious. I tell you this, Chris, feel what your heart wants to do. But I tell you, as a scientist, professor at the University of Maryland and others, I have lots of students, former colleagues, scientists. I share. If they don't want to see me, they unfollow me or unfriend me. But there is a time and a day and an age that we can no longer hide. How else are people going to know about it? And we are not proselytizing. We're not telling them you should become spiritists. But saying, that's a beautiful statement. That's something that is insightful for life. Not for people to become labeled spiritists. Our goal is not to preach, but to share. Share the good news. That's what Jesus asked us to do. Share the good. Share the good news. And this is Emmanuel telling us. How many affirmations are there? We don't need to name it Spiritist, but say Allan Kardec in Book X. It's just the good. What else can you say? And God has given you authority. Oh no, who am I, Vanessa? Well, if you're a parent, you have authority over your children. If you're a teacher, you have authority over your students. You do. If you are if you have any role in a company or in your community, even the circle of friendships, you have your influence as well. So you may also exercise compassion. Henny Jones is saying to us, I was raised a Mormon and my parents think me following Spiritist doctrine is something the devil has done to me. But I have refused to hide it, and now I have my mom asking me information sometimes. I actually think she secretly believes the things I say, but her religion prevents her from showing her acceptance. It is okay. My example is enough for them to understand so that I am not on the wrong path. Thank you, Henny Jones, for sharing with us your beautiful story, and congratulations for sharing and encouraging us to doing it. Thank you and keep it up. We we await more good news. God bless you and your family. Sunshine saying, I just opened up a Spiritist Facebook page and started posting on there. Not on my personal site. It's slowly growing. Exactly. So there are many ways for us to share. To do nothing is not an option. Okay? How do I know it? There is a book named Among Brothers of Other Lands, and there is the parable recounted, in which it talks about the parable of the talents. And there is the Spiritist who received the talent of Spiritism. And he said, oh God, I want to give you back this talent because people don't understand me. I had to keep it for myself. Everybody thought I was crazy. Go read the answer of the Lord of Life to that part, okay? Just, just read it in Among Brothers of Other Lands, and then you know the answer. John DeRosa is saying, be a spiritist dog walker. That's what John DeRosa does the best. He walks his dog and keeps talking to everyone he meets as he counts to us. He tells us, and the beautiful stories of the exchanges and how he perceives people's needs and shares without restriction. Good job, John DeRosa. So it's a call for all of us to share. We're just sharing. We're not imposing. We're not proselytizing. We're not preaching, sharing. Of course, there are times we can't. But it's your Facebook page. It's not your friend's Facebook page, huh? It's yours. You do whatever you like in your Facebook page. They want to read it, they read it. If they don't, they don't. But it's your Facebook page. It's your social media. You do what you want to do and you share what's important for you, knowing that you cannot keep it for yourself. That's Emmanuel. God has given you fortune so that your money may become the pillar of work and beneficence. And with such abnegation, you will exterminate misery on earth. He doesn't say $10,000, $1 million, $1 billion. He says he gives you money. What do you do with it? What do you do with it? That's another thing we need to do, okay? You want another math? And that's not a Protestant way of thinking. It's a real thinking. So take your pen, okay, and write down your monthly income. How much of it do you use to help others who are in need of help and cannot pay you back? I will repeat. How much of your salary are you investing in organizations that are nonprofit, like Spiritist centers, or in people that are in need of help? Or do you use the money only for yourself and for your loved ones? How much of your earnings do you share with those in need? 0%, 1%, 2%, 10%, 100%. I don't know. But that's something to think about. Hanny Jones said, I have the firm belief that charity does not need to be complicated. Just listening to stories and paying attention to the elderly is charity. I agree. You can share your happiness, maybe pray for someone in need. These are very simple acts of charity. Charity doesn't need money to start, just a spark of desire. Super agree. That's what Spiritism says, and you, John, and you're so right. Thank you for sharing that. Gabriel Inácio is saying, I thought the same, so I wondered if Jesus thought like us and didn't do anything, what would become of us? I started telling myself, don't be shy. Beautiful, Gabriel, don't be shy. Let it shine, let you shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine in discernment. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine in knowledge. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine in authority. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine in financial resources, as Emmanuel is saying. Resources in general, material resources. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Don't be shy. Okay, and if you're shy, I tell you this: the Cardiac Radio, we are raising funds for its 10,000 platforms that we use. Everything is volunteer based. So the School of Emotion is donating the whole proceeds of our workshop, Emotional Empowerment, just for those who want to empower themselves. So if you go to cardiacradio.com, you're going to see the flyer, Emotional Empowerment. Click on it, and then you're going to be directed to the registration. It's going to happen in a week, pretty much October 6th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be sharing with you the latest scientific advancements on neuroscience and psychology to help us be emotionally empowered. And thus, we can fundraise for Cardiac Radio. We're not going to touch base with religious points of view that day, but we're going to share techniques, exercises, and knowledge that is unprecedented, okay? Because we've created it at the School of Emotion. But let's talk about the main subject in donation in us. Let's go to the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 15, item 10. Paul the Apostle in 1860 said, my children, in the maxim without charity there's no salvation, are contained the destinies of men and women on earth and in heaven. On earth, because in the shadow of this banner they will live in peace. In heaven, because those who have practiced it will find grace before the Lord. This motto is the heavenly light, the luminous pillar that guides them through the desert of life in order to lead them to the promised land. It shines in heaven like a saintly halo around the brows of the elect, and on earth it is engraved on the hearts of those to whom Jesus will say, go to the right. You who are blessed of my Father, you will recognize them by the fragrance of charity that they spread around them. Nothing better expresses Jesus' thought. Nothing better sums up the duties of men and women than this maxim of divine order. Spiritism could not prove its origin in any better way than by providing it as a rule, because it is the reflection of the purest Christianity. With such a guide, people will never become lost. So, my friends, apply yourselves to grasping its profound meaning and consequences, and to discovering for yourselves all its applications. Submit all your actions to the test of charity, and your conscience will respond to you. Not only will it help you to avoid practicing evil, but it will lead you to practice the good, for not to have a negative virtue is not enough. It is necessary to have an active one. In order to practice the good, the action of the will is always necessary, whereas in order not to practice evil, idleness and negligence are often enough. My friends, give thanks to God who has allowed you to enjoy the light of Spiritism, not because those who possess this enlightenment are the only ones who will be saved, but because in helping you to understand Christ's teachings more fully, it makes you better Christians. So make every effort so that when others observe you, They can say that the true Spiritist and the true Christian are one and the same thing. For all who practice charity are Jesus' disciples, whatever the denomination to which they belong. Besides words, Paul the Apostle is telling us, do the good, do the good. It's like the riding of the horse. Do the good, do the good, do the good, do the good. So tonight we're being called to do the good, expand the good, the action of the good in our lives. Do more good because, as Emmanuel says, God gives to you so you can pass it on. Right? Isn't that a joy? I think and when these spirits tell us, they're just boosting us. They're saying to us, they believe in us, and we're like, us? You're talking about us? Us? And we say, yes. They say, yes, you. All of you. All of you. Us? All of you. They are telling us, donation in us. God gives us. Let us share. Because share is care. Right? Tomorrow when we come back, hello, Neoliva. When we come back, what's going to happen? Well, let me tell you. Chapter 58, God willing, it's about the heart. From the springs of the heart. How poetic. And he tells us, as a teaser, I'm going to read to you, He says, fraternal understanding is like the enlightenment of the soul, permeating life and feeling in its depths. What is he gonna talk about? He's gonna talk about the heart, yes. He was marching from understanding, now escalating to higher levels, giving of the heart. Is that what it is? I don't know. Come back tomorrow and we'll know more. For now, let's share. The exercise is to share more everything that we have. Right, Rihanna? Thank you for being with us. Thank you, friends. A super big hug. And until tomorrow, God willing.